Hello and welcome to this IsleVote21 online meeting for the Isle of Wight County Council seat of Wroxall, Lowtherville and Bonchurch. A brief word of benefit for the public. IsleVote21 has been formed with the sole purpose of enhancing democracy by providing an unbiased platform for candidates to represent themselves. We have no affiliation or funding and no candidates are aware of what questions will be asked previous to today's session, although a list of topics was distributed in advance to enable candidates to prepare. All 138 candidates in this year's election have been invited, either directly or via group and party leaders. The following candidates have been invited to today's meeting. That's Colm Watling, representing Conservatives, Justin Tracey, representing the Labour Party, and Mr. Rodney Downer, representing Independent. I must just say that Justin Tracey has sent his apologies in that he's not going to be able to join us today. No word from Mr. Watling, but we do have with us Mr. Rodney Downer, and I shall get round to you very, very shortly, sir. Candidates are going to be asked questions from our pool, plus others that have been submitted by the public regarding Isle of Wight issues and others regarding their specific locality. Candidates have been informed there's a 2-minute limitation on answers. I'll raise my hand as we approach that cutoff, and I request the candidate wraps it up promptly after that. Before we go over to the questions, we have a 2-minute personal statement, and if I can hand it over to you, Mr. Downer.
Well, thank you very much indeed for your kind invitation to participate. I was born in the village of Whitwell on the Isle of Wight, Whittle as they call it, and came over to Wroxall in 1983 when I got married. I used to be a cowman, and then when the milk quotas came in, I got made redundant and then went into horticulture with tomato growing. And I took a year out when the COVID came in, and now I've gone back part-time doing pest and disease monitoring. I only work 12 hours a week there because I'm 70 years old now. But I've been passionately thought about helping people, and that's why I first stood for election as an independent, because I don't believe party politics should be in local government. I stood for election and got elected, and subsequently in 2009, and subsequently in 2013 and 2017. I have zero ego, and I try to help as many people as I can. My residents, I'm a voice between them and the council and also other bodies. I don't profess to know everything, and I wouldn't, because that's been disingenuous to my residents. I think their views are most important, because people's problems individually are the most important to them, and that's what I try to resolve by putting them in touch with people and having meetings, and not promising anything or trying to wave a magic wand. Thank you.
Lovely job, thank you very much. Righty, we're going to move over to these questions. The first one that I have for you is, are there any personal projects that you envisage that you would pursue in the council?
Right, well, I'm particularly interested in rights of way, and I put a motion forward in council about the rights of way funding, and make sure that was kept up, and also increasing the funding, because this is something I feel quite passionately about, because walking in the countryside and is good for health, and also good for mental health, by getting people out and about, and not dwelling on things. I think you know, out in the fresh air, having a good walk, and like with the exercise and things. So I think that, you know, the island's got beautiful scenery, and that is a fillip for people. Thank you. So that's one that I will pursue. Thank you.
And I couldn't agree with you more. I've just recently taken up a hobby of doing all of the public footpaths and bridleways on the island. And there are some really, really close to me. I'm in Binsted, that I didn't realise that there was access through these areas. And like you say, especially in this last year, getting out into the countryside with fresh air has been a wonderful thing. And we are, of course, blessed with this absolutely beautiful island. So, yes, public rights of way should certainly have somebody standing up and looking out for it. Righty ho, looking down here, the next one I have for you is suggest a new policy that the council could pursue on the island.
Well, there is a policy. It's about abandoned cars, because I'll get quite a few complaints about that. There is a policy, but I think it needs to be beefed up, because people get very frustrated about abandoned cars and the length of time it takes to remove them. And with the DVLA, sometimes have a presence over here, but I find it was quite remote. And you know, people complain about cars, even though they're taxed and that, and they think they're abandoned. If they're legal, well, they're okay. They're on the public highway, aren't they? But the only trouble is that cars are not taxed or MOT'd and that. They're left there for quite a long time, and it frustrates people. So that's what I would like to see, a beefed up policy about that. Thank you.
Right, lovely. Thank you very much. Right, moving down, what do we have here next? What relevant experience would you bring to the council, and what have you achieved in communities in the past?
Right, the experience, I would say, over my period of time in the council is to be, and I've thought about this before, is to be able to listen to people. As I said, people's problems are most important to them. And that is what I think I've brought to the council, and taking people to, you know, getting officers to come out to see people, and following up promptly on people's concerns. Because if people ring up, not in a COVID sort of way, you know, before, I'll go and see them to discuss their problems with them, because I don't believe, you know, doing emails and stuff and phone calls that are like the personal touch, because you're engaging with the person face to face, so to speak. And that's what I truly believe in. And what was the other part about the what have I?
Let's have a little look. Which one was it here? What relevant experience would you bring, and what have you achieved in communities in the past?
Right. Well, there's two major things that one was recent and the other one was last year. It was to do with road closures, and there's a Bow Bridge in Godshill. It's quite an historic bridge, was going to be closed, and there was no bus. People were very concerned about a bus link through to so they could access the village. Now, I engaged with Island Roads and managed to get a shuttle bus from Godshill up to Wroxall to connect in with the number 3, so that they had connections both ways. And I think that's most important, because you know, people got worried. They need connectivity, because you get elderly people that need the bus, need to go for appointments and things, and also people, residents that need to get to work. So that was a success. The second one is quite recently, the Southern Gas Networks wanted to replace the gas main in Wroxall in St John's Road. Now, I spoke liaise with the parish council chairman. I work closely with the parish councils, both Galton and Wroxall, and because the road was going to be closed from January the 18th until, and they said the 1st of April, but we got together, we had meetings with Southern Gas Networks, Microsoft team meetings, Southern Gas Networks, Island Roads, and I also made representations to the council. Now, through our efforts, we met, always Southern Vectors as well, through our efforts, we got a shuttle bus to go from St Martin's Road in Wroxall to connect down with the number 3 bus in Ventnor, vital for residents in Wroxall, and also vital for residents in Wroxall, and also for Lowtherville, because the bus goes through there. So both communities, and there was a good bus service as well. Now, throughout the project, I kept in liaise with Southern Gas Networks, and also kept residents informed at all times. So, and it worked well, because I used to visit the works pretty well every day and have a talk to the chaps and that down there, and see what they were doing. Not nosy like, but just interested in what they were doing and how the works were done. And so yeah, that was pretty interesting, really. And so I sort of learned something. I'm not an engineer or anything, but
one big learning process, isn't it? Everything
is, but that was good, and they finished before time anyway, so that was good. Thank you.
And it doesn't take too many road closures to quite isolate certain areas out your way, does it? So
no, it does. No, and the B3327 that runs through Wroxall is more or less like a main arterial route through to Ventnor.
Yeah. Right. Thank you very much. Let's have a little look and see what we have here next. Right. We have one here on education and special needs. It sometimes takes years to get a diagnosis for special needs children, and they're not in school because the appropriate school place is unavailable. There's no provision on the island for autistic children without learning difficulties. If elected, what would you do to champion the rights of disabled children and education on the island?
Right. Well, I'd first of all, I'd liaise with those with the people that are concerned, make copious representations, because I don't sort of just let things lie, just keep on about it. So, but the thing is that they are very important, and I'll agree with you about the earlier diagnosis of autism, and because it impacts on people's lives, their parents and the children. And I think that that they're all individual people, and they should be treated accordingly, because they've all got their own special priorities, so to speak. And so I would make many representations and collective representations on their behalf.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to move swiftly down to the next one here, which is, let's have a little look. The volunteer sector carries a great deal of weight on the island, especially during the recent crisis, to the great relief of taxpayer-funded services. Can you suggest ways in which the council can support this sector?
Well, again, I'm not an expert on that, but throughout the crisis, the council had a helpline, as you know, and I thought that worked very well, and also liaising in with community action Isle of Wight, and I think that, you know, the council, it was really good that help was provided for residents, and also that community action linked in with groups of volunteers providing support. And I think it worked very well, and my grateful thanks to all the volunteers for the help that they needed, that they provided throughout the pandemic crisis, which was a terrible state of affairs. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly have been invaluable, these services, and they really have propped up the rest of the services. So we can't thank them enough. Right, I'm going to move on. I've got one last question for you here, and it's one that we've been asking to all candidates across all of the 39 meetings that we've done. And that question is, knowing your local community as you clearly do, what local issue would you like to address that you know is of concern to the residents? Pardon me.
I'll start off with the first one, and that people are very concerned about speeding through Wroxall. And I've had many representations about that. I've spoken to Island Roads and also officers. I've had meetings with them. And when I first got elected in 2009, I had a special meeting for residents in the village, and officers came out and spoke with them because of the concerns about speeding. And the other one, I would say, people get concerned about fly tipping, and I've had to report on many occasions reports of fly tipping in the car park at Wroxall, ran by the recycling bins, and I've had to get Island Roads out on many occasions to clear that. And the other one, which is quite common everywhere, is dog fouling.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know really what the solution is to that, but it does cause great concern to residents, and so just have to keep on pecking away at that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's got to be, there's some form of educating dog owners to actually clean up. I mean, you don't go walk through someone else's town, they're walking through their own village. Why would they want to leave it in an unpleasant state like that? It's and with fly tipping as well. Just out of interest, where is the nearest tip to you? Is it Limbottom that you have to go to from?
That's right, yeah.
And I mean that is quite a distance, isn't it? And I know that fly tipping has gone right up over the last 13 months. I think a lot of people at home doing work that wouldn't usually have been doing it, and then the additional restrictions for actually visiting the tip. It's no excuse for fly tipping by any means, but it seems to me that there's definitely been a correlation between the amount of fly tipping on the Isle of Wight and having to book yourself in for a trip to the tip. So I personally am hoping that they're going to ease those restrictions at the tip, so that people really do have absolutely no excuse at all not to just use the services that are provided. Because as we've said before, this is an absolutely beautiful island, and why you would want to go and just dump your rubbish around it is quite find it quite offensive myself. So there we go. We've gone down through all the questions that I had for you today, Rodney, and it just remains for me to say thank you very, very much for attending today, speaking to us. And the very, very best of luck in the forthcoming elections here.
Thank you very much indeed. And have a good evening.
Thank you, and you. Cheers.
Cheers, Andy.